Any business should be looking at what's going to put them out of business. My business was failing miserably, so I didn't tell people how bad it was, and it just got worse. And it wasn't until I literally started opening up public about all the things I was screwing up that people started asking me questions about how they could do it better.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. Our guest today is on a mission to change the way the world networks. In other words, he's fixing everything business owners hate about networking. And there's a long list, I bet, and teaching them all the secrets to growing a thriving business they love. That sounds a whole lot better. Donnie Boivin is an entrepreneur and serves as CEO and founder of Success Champions and Success Champions Networking. He's considered one of the leading global minds on sales, business development, and business growth. On top of that, he's a Marine Corps veteran, 5-time best-selling author, and runs a full working farm. Today, we're going to find out some secrets of how he turns his clients into champions.
Donnie, welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Oh my God, thank you. And girl, can you read that for me like every day? That was like one of the best voiceover start-offs I've ever heard. I need to run that in front of my podcast. Holy
I tell you what, make sure that we're connected on Facebook. I'll cut that for you and DM it to you.
There you go.
You can play it every morning.
I love you guys already. Y'all are cute as hell, all cuddled up there on screen. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys. So this will be fun.
Well, thank you, sir. And thank you for your service.
Oh, my honor. My honor.
Yep. Let's jump right into it. Was there a specific event or person in your life that shaped who you are right now and resulted in what you're doing?
Ooh, that's a big question. It shaped who I am as my old man for sure. Dad was one of those guys that just was never going to let us throw in the towel on anything. He was the redhead stepchild of his family. So family was a key core for everything for him. So I will say he shaped a lot of it. And I would also say, mom put the firecracker in my ass to get me out there and do things. But all in all, man, I've had so many mentors in my life and people that I've learned from that outside of shaping, who I am as a person with mom and dad, I can't say there's one person that really, honed me in and said, this is where you're meant to be. This is your destiny. It's been a series of cool learning experiences for some great people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think one of the greatest movie titles ever was Series of Unfortunate Events, right? It sounds like yours were a series of fortunate events.
Well, don't get me wrong. I got the unfortunate ones too, and I've got some doozies.
Don't we all, my friend?
I think that's how only way you learn anything is you got to fuck it all up so that you can figure out how to do it right. And I built the foundation of my businesses on the basis of screwing everything up, almost losing it all, so that we can build where we are now.
Yeah.
Great lessons learned. And then hopefully you could pass those on. Clearly you're doing that to help other people avoid the same pitfalls.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, my biggest purpose in life is to help as many people get the freedom through building a business as I possibly can. And it's because, building a business is literally the toughest thing I've ever done in my life. There was so many people telling everybody to start a business, get in the game, be an entrepreneur. And it really made being an entrepreneur look like it was the new multi-level marketing or some shit. And everybody was trying to move into space, but nobody was out there saying, dude, this shit's hard. It's a lot of work building a business. And I know for me in particular, as my business was failing miserably, I didn't want anybody to know how bad it was. So I made myself an island because I thought if anybody knew how bad business was, nobody would do business with me. So I didn't tell people how bad it was, and it just got worse. And it wasn't until I literally started opening up public about all the things I was screwing up that people started asking me questions about how they could do it better. I'm like, I don't know don't ask me questions. I'm telling you where I'm screwing up. I don't have the damn answers. And they kept doing it and doing it and doing it. But I found that I'm just going to teach everything I wish somebody would have told me as I was going through it, because I didn't know where to look for the answers. There was all these gurus selling courses and crap and all that stupid shit. But nobody was saying, hey, dude, you got this. Stay in the game. Go this direction. Do this. Do one more. And this shit's going to start working out. And so that's just my life mission now. And I'm having fun continuing to show up for as many people as possible.
That's really good.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
sometimes you just, in my own career, I just stumbled my way to the top, right? Or let's say at the top, I don't necessarily feel like I'm at the top yet. I don't ever think I'll feel like I'm at the top, but I stumbled my way upward, starting with selling vacuum cleaners door to door to pay my way through college.
Hello, Kirby.
Yeah, oh no. Now those are fighting words.
Oh, they're fighting words. Oh, I didn't know Kirby had a competitor door to door.
No, Electrolux.
Oh, I actually did hear that.
That's right. Remember that one? Yeah.
They are still around too, people.
I was gonna say, y'all's age is showing with that shit. I'm just saying.
Oh, you have no idea. Well, before we went live, we started talking a little bit about honeybees, but it all began because you have a full working farm. What inspired that?
We wanted to get away from people. So I grew up on a farm as a kid. And my wife managed a veterinary clinic and loved animals. And we knew that with everything that we were building, that my personal brand was going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've always wanted to say, I want to live in a town where I'm the most famous person that nobody knows. And so that was the whole angle of getting out here to our farm, was to be able to build our sanctuary away from everybody. And we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but we happened to be at a swap meet, and there was 2 baby goats sitting in a dog crate that were for sale. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and she said, why not? We didn't have a barn, we didn't have pastures, we didn't have anything, but now I had 2 baby goats in a dog crate that lived in our living room for a week until I get the barn and everything up. But that's really started us down to our farm, and now we got a head of ton of goats and a full working farm. But it all came from we wanted a place that we could escape and be off the beaten path from anybody. And we do. We live in a town where I'm potentially the most famous guy that nobody knows. It's a little town though, so don't think it's anything too famous or anything.
Well, what I like about that right off the bat is it clearly shows that Success Champions is big and getting bigger because y'all are willing to do it.
Yeah,
like you're going to do something even if it's wrong, right? You're going to take that step. Yeah.
Well, we have a set of codes in the company. They're called our Champions Codes, and one of them is go break shit, learning new things. And we put that in there because we knew that there was a couple times in building our business, we've been in business now for a little over 5 years, and a couple of times that it's got stagnant because we weren't out trying new things and testing new things. And so we have a operational meeting every week. And one of the things I start off with is, how'd you work on yourself? And then the second question is, what'd you break this week? And we do that. So we're constantly innovating. We're constantly trying new things. And that's how we've come up with a lot of crazy shit that we do, is the whole team has to come back with what they broke. And how they've been working on themselves. It's been a cool way to get things in the right direction.
That's a really good way too. And I would think a people motivator, we have teams on Tanya's side of the house and on mine also. And I like that. They have like a vested interest in admitting something that they broke. And if they didn't break something, they didn't do it right. And I like that mentality. And that way it sort of removes fear of, oh my God, I made a mistake. So many people would rather sweep under the rug, and that sort of thing.
And you don't want to be the person that shows up to the meeting without something, right?
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Because then Donnie's going to be calling you out.
Yeah. You're damn right.
My first taste of that was my high school basketball coach used to say, if you're not doing something wrong, you're not hustling. And I never forgot that, because every time I did something wrong, I'd look up and go, sorry, because I was always that apologetic Southern girl, sorry. But I get it. So I think now, Michael, what we're going to do is, in our weekly operations meetings from now on, we are going to institute the bovine break it rule.
I like it. That's a thing now.
It's a thing now. It's the bovine break it rule. Like, you must break something this week. What's your bovine break it of the week?
I love it.
There you go.
I love it.
I love it too. So tell us a little bit about how you grew up, Donnie, because, a lot of people, when they become adults, and assuming we are all adults here, right?
That's a big assumption.
It's very questionable on this side of the fence, right? So we look at, you gave us a little bit of information about your mom and dad. Tell us a little bit more about growing up and the framework that brought you where you are.
Yeah, so I was very much a blue collar kid. We grew up just shy of dirt poor. I mean, dad was a truck driver. Mom worked in blue jean factory, actually on a sewing machine. I remember my two older brothers used to beat the shit out of me as a kid. So when they got too carried away, I'd call mom, and literally mom would be paged over a loudspeaker. Sue, Donnie's on the phone again. You know, it'd be a couple hundred people out on sewing machines, and they'd be calling mama with a loudspeaker. But we grew up, as rough as it can get, and there was some point along the journey, mom and dad are like, this can't be the direction for the entire family. So they snatched us all up, and we moved to Texas and went from a little town in Wellsville, Kansas that was elementary through 12th grade. We're all in one building. Graduating class was like 22 students. And I moved to Texas where my classroom size was 22 students. And, I ended up graduating with something like 1,400 kids in the suburbs of Texas. So, when we hit Texas, we were still dirt poor, living with family. So here I was, a young kid, hand-me-down clothes, wire rim glasses, and learned to get tough really quick in Texas schools. And then, turned in pretty much a punk kid. I never did the sports thing really. I tried the sports thing, couldn't keep my grades up. So I got put into a group called the Flunkies. And that's what they really called us. And I decided, if you're going to call me a flunky, I'm going to prove to you what a flunky actually is.
You're going to live up to it.
Yeah. So I lived up to those standards, and, all the way through high school. And by somebody looking out for me, I signed up for the Marine Corps. I'm not saying I would have ended up in prison. I'm not sure I'd ever gotten that bad, but I damn sure wasn't heading in the right direction. So Marine Corps was a pretty good saving grace for me, at least pointing me in some direction where I had no direction up to that point.
I think the military in general is quite the savior for a lot of young men.
Well, yeah, it's a collection of all those fucking misfits and rugrats and assholes who have no direction in their life.
And those who choose to do better do, right? Because
Right.
they learn a lot of the principles in the military to head you in that right direction. And those with an extra special ingredient go toward entrepreneurship.
Yeah, there's a lot of veterans that go towards the entrepreneur space. I would say that for me personally, I had such a cool foundation from mom and dad going in the military that, the military taught me how to drink. They taught me some leadership skills, but most of my foundation was in place before I went through it. I did my 4 and got out, and then spent the next 20 years working for other people because I didn't know any better. And I will tell you, that's one of the things that I'm jealous of this next generation coming up, because these kids, they're not even trying to go to corporate America. They're all starting their own businesses. They're all creating their own things. And dude, I think it's fucking amazing, because
I do too.
I'm not worried about the great exodus of all the people leaving corporate America. I think corporate America needs to start looking at they're not going to be able to find anybody to work for them, because you got the internet, you got your phone, you can do this and do whatever you want and create your own business. And I think it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
It's going to change the landscape moving forward.
Oh, I would agree. That's a really good point. I'm a 31-year serial entrepreneur. I worked 6 months out of high school for another company, and then been on my own ever since. The ups, downs, the whole
That's
work.
where all the gray hair comes from.
That's exactly
right.
where all the gray hair comes from and everything. I mean, I'm really only 29 years old. I mean, it's just, but your point is made, and I'm a capitalist, and I believe in corporations, but there's a lot to be desired in the way corporations are run in America today. And I think that mass exodus you're talking about is really a good, hopefully an eye opener for those in that entrepreneurship of that younger generation is going to be a big fire. I support them 100%. And
I agree that our company right now, we're positioned to help all those people that are left corporate America, got out, and are now like, oh shit, I built a business. What do I do from there? So that's been extremely helpful for us as we've pushed the company forward. But we're already looking at the future. Okay, we'll save all those people that we can. Now, how do we teach this next generation how to do networking, how to do business development, how to do sales? Because they're going to build the next empires, but they've done it the entire time because of technology and social media. At some point, there's going to be a flip-flop back to some sort of traditional business, but it's going to be different from what's in the past. And we're going to be like, okay, how do we fit into that particular future when it comes?
Yeah. For the listeners, could that be a takeaway? How can you have an endless stream of referrals come into a business like that? That's right up your alley, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Any business better be looking at, this isn't my original thought. It was said by Gary Vee first, but any business should be looking at what's going to put them out of business. And I think it's a fantastic way to look at your company overall.
Hmm.
And I can tell you that one of the things that hurts most companies is they have no clue how to actually get referrals coming in on a regular basis to their company because they don't have a proactive system to bring them in. They don't know how to ask. And I can tell you, there's only four reasons people don't get referrals, and your listeners are going to want to write these down because they're really, really tough. Okay, the first reason you don't get referrals is because you don't fucking ask for them. Plain and
Yep.
simple. Second reason you don't get referrals is because you're an asshole. Third reason you don't get referrals is everybody's afraid you're going to try and sell anybody that they introduce them to. And the fourth reason is the most tragic one is nobody actually knows what you sell. And so if you're not getting referrals, it's one of those four reasons. And unfortunately, a lot of people that left corporate came into business. They've never sat down and go, okay, what's my referral game plan? And traditionally over the years, people misunderstood what referral actually is. And what most people think is referral is merely an introduction. It's what happens most times is two good people should go meet and have a fun conversation, get to know you. That's an introduction. A referral is an actual sales conversation is expected and there's money expected to potentially transact. And people haven't wrapped their head around it because networking, let's be honest, was created by a bunch of broke people that didn't know how to sell.
Hmm.
And, even the founder of the largest organization in the world, which is an amazing company, they came out and he'll tell you that he started a company because his number one client went away and he had no idea how to sell. So we had to figure out a way to generate business. So he created referral networking. Well done. He's built an amazing empire, sold it twice, and has done amazing things to establish networking as the world knows it. We just came up and said, okay, cool. We don't want the social club. Let's create an environment where people can actually grow and scale a business. So we just happen to be a business growth company teaching people how to grow and scale their businesses. It just happens to have a networking problem on the back end of that.
Hmm.
And it's really revamped and reshaped everything, teaching people how to get referrals through proper introductions so they can grow their businesses. That was a long diatribe of stuff.
That was a good one.
That's a great one.
Because it's
Yeah.
it's conversation. Me and Tanya, we have a lot, and we have it in our mastermind groups. We have it with our clients. Business and networking groups is the first place you want to go, especially small town America. Let's join this thing. They're going to take some dues. Everybody's going to get to know each other. But I've participated in those things for years and years and years and years, and I can add on one hand the business I've gotten out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's just not the approach that actually ends up selling because you're really not talking to the person that needs your service at the end of the day.
Well,
Wouldn't you
and
agree?
you got that, and added in that you got a whole bunch of people who can't sell, all sitting around the room. So their only option is to sell the person that's in the room. So you got a bunch of broke people selling to a bunch of broke people. When the real networking comes in play, when you get a bunch of confident, badass people all in a room that are proactively out selling their business and finding their clientele, and then they bring those clientele back to a group of people, and now business is happening because of the right introduction. So I tell everybody, truthfully, I don't give a shit about referrals. And what I mean by that is very rarely am I going to run into your perfect, ideal freaking client, the
Mhm,
person you need to meet. But if
mhm.
you can tell me specifically who's that industry or who's that person that already has your perfect clientele, like if you're a drug screening company, right? I don't know very many companies that are going to say, hey, I'm looking for a drug screening. But I will run across several HR consultants that their clientele are probably looking for drug screening companies. So I can't refer you into that person that needs the drug screening, but I can introduce you to the HR consultant. If you get a whole bunch of people with that mindset, then a shit ton of referrals happen because everybody's opening doors for each other. And that's the reframe people need to think about is most of these groups is they should look at the members sitting in the groups and going, okay, can their Rolodex, can their catalog of clientele actually be the people I need to be talking to? Because if I'm only looking at the group, you're going to lose every time because very rarely do people that network are the people that need your services. That's why you got to make sure the level of people in there are the people that are getting after it and trying to open doors. That's why we focus so much on business growth and teaching how to scale and grow your business because if people don't grow their business outside of networking, there's no networking that's going to save it at all. It's going to
Right.
become into one shit show pitch fest for everybody.
Agreed. Agreed.
No, that's so
Yeah.
true. We talk a lot about aligning your programs, your partners, and your appearances, right? And
Mhm.
partners is one of those, right? Making sure they're aligned with the brand. Like, what do you want to be known for? Who are you reaching out to, et cetera? But finding those right partners, you want those partners to have the same caliber of clients that you're after, right?
Yes,
And you want to be able to give and take, not just take. And 99% of the time, branding is number one, right?
agreed.
But as you know, we work, one of our partners is the leading brand SERP guy, and that is search engine results pages. So he's the Google guy. So who doesn't need Google? Who doesn't need to know, Google to know exactly how to present you? So he tells us, hey, our clients, they're coming to me, but they're not ready for Google yet. They don't even know what they want Google to present them as.
Right.
And so he'll send them to us sometimes, right? And so that kind of relationship where okay, in order to serve this client best, there are 2 or 3 people in this circle of amazing people that we would love to have them work with. We
Yep.
send people to him, we send people to a couple of social media experts. So it's just like, what's next, right? What's
Mhm.
next, or what comes first, or however you want to say that, is the caliber of partners that you want to surround yourself with as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. Jim Rohn came out initially quoted a phrase is you're the direct representation of the 5 people you surround yourself, right?
Right.
Well, what he didn't say, which I think he meant in those words that people don't often think about, is it's not just the 5 people you surround yourself with. That's true, but it's also the 5 prospects you're going after. Are they the caliber of businesses you want to go after? It's your 5 clients because those are a direct reflection of how you see yourself. So if you have a bunch of broke prospects you're going after, you have a bunch of broke clients you're going after that you currently have, it's a direct reflection of how you see yourself. It's the
Agreed.
5 people that you network with, and if they're not the caliber of people and they don't have the caliber of clientele you're going after, it all comes back to it, you know. And the one thing I think Jim also meant in there that he doesn't say is that five's always going to move, but you also have to have some authority and control in that because my family's never been entrepreneurs. They've never been CEOs of companies and the like. So they don't know that world and nor have aspirations to do that. Hanging out with my family doesn't make me of a lesser person because they're part of my circle of 5.
Right.
It's the ability to maintain who I am, but also know that I need to be influenced as I move about the world in different aspects by that 5, and that 5 moves with me. And I think most people just want to be the biggest fish in a small pond because they need the accolades, they need the attaboys. So if they're top dog, it feels good for somebody to go, dude, you're doing amazing. You're so awesome. When they should be doing, dude, what the fuck? Pick it up. Let's go. Why aren't you keeping up with me? You
Right,
know,
right.
Right.
but they want the side. So people really should think about what's the 5? Who are you going after? Because it's a direct reflection of how you see yourself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I love that. I think that matches up really good with personal branding because it's so much of how you present yourself to your public and to those 5 and to beyond those 5 is everything, especially
It
in the
really is.
world where people look you up long before they'll call you or
For
text you
sure.
or talk to
Yeah.
you. They want to see that. Go
I'll
ahead.
speak to personal branding just really quick because this is huge for me, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it. It actually, I was working for a company before I launched mine when I first discovered this, but I had just closed one of the largest deals I'd ever closed in my life. It was very very large, multi millions, and the CEO of the company pulled me aside, at the time I was working for a company called Sandler Training and was doing sales training, and the CEO pulled me aside and he goes, Donnie, you need to understand one thing. And I said, okay, what do I need to understand? He goes, I did not buy Sandler Training. And in the back of my head, I went, oh shit, right? What did I fuck up? And he goes, I bought you. I said,
Mhm.
explain that to
Exactly.
me. He goes, um, I need you. I need you to teach my people. I need you to do this. And it was a light bulb moment. And it was a big contention between me and my then business owner or business partner. We're still great friends, with this, but I stopped saying I was with Sandler Training. I started saying I'm Donnie Boivin. And when I launched my company, it became louder and louder that people don't buy businesses, they don't buy brands. You can't forgive a brand. They buy you and then get whatever you freaking sell. So if you don't have a personal brand in the marketplace, you are going to lose in this day and age, period. Because look, at the end of the day, influencers dominate the world. And I'm not saying you have to be an influencer, but if you are not showing up online, like if you can't Google your name and your image pops up everywhere, you're playing the game wrong because, as you guys said, the world is looking for you. They are
Mhm.
going to go check you out. They're going to go look you up. And most times they're going to find you through word of mouth. And word of mouth just happens to be social media right
Yeah.
now. And if you're not playing it, you're going to freaking lose. I'm
Mhm.
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
go louder and louder with this because people just will not play the game.
Yeah, it's so true.
We've been saying it for 11 years. We're with you 100%.
Yeah. And it's not
Um,
just it's not just showing up, it's how you show up because 98% of people will meet your brand before they meet you.
mhm.
Yeah, a buddy of
Mhm.
mine put it this way, and it was finally the way it wrapped my head around it. He says, "Marketing and advertising is what you say and do. Branding is what everybody else says you do when you're not in the fucking room. So if they're not talking about you, that's one issue. But if they're telling the wrong story, it's a whole nother issue, and most
Yeah.
likely it's because you're not showing up out there."
Yep, exactly.
True.
You're not teaching them how to view you. So important. What's one thing that most people wouldn't know about you? Something they couldn't see on social media?
Man, I've spoken in 4 countries now. I spoke in front of a UN council out of St. Louis. I also
Nice.
worked under the gal who was key behind creating the Energizer Bunny and the gal who was key behind creating the Coca-Cola Bears. Were probably some of the biggest things.
Yeah.
So um, I'm a firm believer in skill stacking. And what skill stacking is everything you've done in life has taught you some sort of skill. And so, the best way I can describe it is I went to the Marine Corps, taught me a lot of leadership. After the Marine Corps, I sold heating and air conditioning. It's where I really cut my teeth and learned sales. From there, I was recruited to go work up for Cardinal Health up in St. Louis, where I learned marketing, working under those gals. And then I came home and bartended, where I learned to deal with people at their best and their worst. Got hired out there to go sell commercial printing, where I learned networking. Then got hired out of there to go to Sandler Training, where I learned training and speaking in front of rooms. And if you look at me now, you can go back and look at everything I've done is wrapped up into a bundle to everything we've built. And I think if people just look at life as some sort of skill stack, whatever they're going to end up doing, that final destination is a culmination of all the things you've done up to this point. As soon as they put that in a pretty bow, they'll change the world.
I couldn't have
So
said it
true.
better. That is
Beautifully put.
exactly the truth.
Yeah, it's the
Yep.
journey. It is the
Mhm.
journey that
Sure.
makes you along the way to your
Mhm.
destination, right?
Mhm.
There is such a thing as a destination because we're constantly climbing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, one question we ask all of our guests. If listeners out there had the freedom to visit anywhere in the world, which place would you recommend and why?
It would be Southern Ireland. My wife and I did 9 days in Southern Ireland. And I mean, we did Dublin. Don't go to Dublin. It's a big city. You've seen one big city. You've seen them all. Fly into Shannon Airport and rent a car and do all the B&Bs. It was probably the coolest experience. Be driving down a road and look over and there's a castle sitting in the cow field. We found ourselves alone in abandoned castles and everything over there. It was just an amazing, cool experience to get away from it all, be away from people, and just the Irish people as a general, especially Southern Ireland, nicest folks on the freaking planet, and welcomed us with warm arms. And we did find the one Irish pub filled full of a bunch of the old Irish singers doing the dude. It was awesome. It was awesome. I spent a lot of
That is
money that
great.
night buying everybody drinks just so they would keep singing and doing the Irish songs and stuff.
I love it. Did you kiss the Blarney Stone? Did you go
No,
to
hell
Blarney
no, I
Castle?
ain't getting anywhere. We went to Barney Castle, but I ain't putting my lips in that dirty ass thing. And
You don't need it. You don't need it, man. You got the gift of gab. You don't
oh
need it.
no,
You
dude. We went to a bar afterwards, and I was talking to some of the locals. They're like, "You didn't kiss that Blarney Stone." I said, "Hell no." They're like, "Good. You know how many nasty things have been done to that stone? The locals sneaking up there and doing stuff and everything else." I'm like, "Well, there's no way in hell."
I love it. Donnie, what's the best way for people to learn more about you, contact you, work with you?
Yeah, so last year in October, I decided I needed to lose a few pounds. So I have a full working farm. I decided I was already up early in the mornings that I was going to go walk the farm. So I decided, all right, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock, take the dogs out, lock them in a pasture, and go walk. So I did. So I started walking from gate to gate, one of my pastures, about 200 steps between the gates. And I'd walk for 45 minutes listening to a podcast. Well, last year I was also diagnosed with ADHD, 45 years old, and now I have ADHD. It doesn't give me an excuse for how I was as a kid, but it is a pretty good explanation for how I showed up a lot. But so I've always known that for me to learn anything, I've got to be distracted to learn, right? I just need something. So as a kid going through school, I doodled a lot. It was the only way I learned anything. On these walks, I would listen to a podcast. And I'd always listen to a business or a personal growth podcast or the likes. And what I found is the distraction of the podcast would allow me to focus on the business. So I did this for about 30 days leading up to our Badass Business Summit, which we do every year in September here in Fort Worth, Texas. And by the time I got to the summit, I looked at the team and I said, we're going to launch a challenge. And they're like, okay. They had no warning, no anything. I'm like, I need you to put together the graphics and we're calling it Champions 90. That's all I told them. I didn't give them any more details. So at the summit, I told the story of me going and do this walk. Well, I lost 27 pounds. I was not really meaning to lose that much weight, but I was actually out doing so. I was also fasting at the time. That helped. But in those days, we added well over $100,000 to the bottom line of the company because I got so laser focused on the business. So we came up with a challenge and said, okay, if that happened in 30 days, what would happen if I did it for 90? So we came up with a Champions 90 challenge. And what it is for 90 days, you're committing to do 5 activities. It's 45 minutes of exercise, walk, right? That's all I do is walk. 45 minutes of a business or personal growth, podcast. Don't care who you listen to. You're going to do 30 minutes of cold outreach. So that's 30 minutes of cold calling, cold DMing on LinkedIn, Facebook. I don't care. Or you can do door to door. I don't care. You're going to do 30 minutes of hand raising activities. And these 30 minutes. And so hand raising is anywhere you can put out original content where people can raise their hand and say, I'm interested in that. So that's putting out your own social content, commenting on somebody's social content. Maybe it's writing a blog. Maybe it's guesting on a podcast. Maybe it's speaking on stage. Anywhere you can put out original content. And then you write 200 words. And you do this for 90 days, no quit. You miss one day and you start over. If people just go to LinkedIn and type in hashtag champions 90, go look at the comments of people doing the challenge and how much personal and business growth they've got out of it. And it's phenomenal. So they can go to champions90.com, sign up. It's free. There's nothing. We're not selling shit there. We're not doing anything. I just want you to win. So you're just pledging that you're going to do Champions 90 days straight through. If you miss a day, you start over. And it's been beautiful. I didn't realize how much impact it was going to really have, but so many people keep coming up to me and say, thank you for creating the challenge, because it was exactly what they were looking for to build and grow their business. So champions90.com and then Donnie Boivin on social media, anywhere you want to go.
Wow. Well, another thing to congratulate you on. That's really good. Excellent. Yep. We encourage everybody to do that and hit that challenge.
I love that.
I was almost motivated to do it too. I don't want to commit. I'm very big on my vows. You know what I mean? But Donnie, I'm going to look into that.
No, I'm actually going to commit.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm a walker.
She's going to drag me into it.
I love walking.
She drags me into walking with her too.
Hey, you walked with me yesterday.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's nothing more badass than having 2 people that are pushing each other. Like, even as I was going through it, and my wife and I did a Vegas trip, and we had some other crazy weather and things pulled in. I can tell you, having her beside me going, yeah, you ain't throwing in the towel on this damn thing. Get back. Let's go. You got another day.
And Donnie, what most people don't know about me, I'm a great trash talker.
That a girl. We're friends. I like you.
Yeah.
She's the best ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I find I'm gonna like play cards or a board game, or especially,
it don't matter if she don't know what she's doing.
No,
she's the best trash talker ever.
No, it's called psyching people out. And it started in basketball. You know, God rest his soul, a really good friend of mine, Bobby Stepp, when we were in high school together, we used to go to the gym and shoot, because in the really tiny town where I'm from, like, you were like either doing something you weren't supposed to, or you were doing athletics, right? So we went to the gym, we were shoot, and he taught me how to trash talk. And ever since, I think I'm pretty good at it.
I love it.
Anyway,
hey, let me do this for you guys really quick. Guys, if you've hung out with us this long on this show, do Tanya and Michael a freaking favor for me and share this out with one person. If you got any tips, any value out of this, share this with one person that could get benefit for you. You can tell these guys put some time and energy into it. ask them amazing questions. And if it's not this episode, one of their other episodes, because having my own show, I can tell you the toughest thing in the world is building your audience. So share this out with one person that can value from this content. It'll mean the world to them. It's literally like you walk up and you gave them a virtual hug. And girl,
Thank you for that, Donnie.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're a
Thank you.
gentleman and a scholar. And
Don't
we
tell my
have
wife.
enjoyed this time. Okay. I'll send that to you. DM it. I'll DM
Fair
that
enough.
to you too.
Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Donnie. What a
Oh,
pleasure.
my honor, my honor.
Thank you, sir.
Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.